So at the heart of this period in the Jewish year, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, what we call the Yamim Noraim, is the basic idea that human beings are judged, that we don't know how that judgment manifests itself in the world, but there's a faith, a fundamental belief that there is some kind of accounting, there is some kind of reckoning, ultimately. And that notion fills me this year with a sense of really tremendous fear because I know that I have been inadequate to the monstrous evil of this period, the genocide in Gaza and the destruction of liberal democracy in the United States. There's so many times when I've just decided to turn away because it was easier to not look at the images or to not participate in actions of protest that I could have done just because I had other things that I wanted to do more that were easier for me, that were more fun for me. So I really tremble at my own accountability for this, but I guess I also take some kind of comfort in the notion that there may be some collective accounting, some collective reckoning. Again, many of these of the prayers that we say during these high holidays are in the plural. And when I think about collectively in the Jewish community and more generally in the United States, I do take some kind of comfort in the sense that there will be some kind of accounting because the level of cowardice that we see around us is just beyond my wildest imagination. It's beyond my wildest imagination. I mean, Donald Trump is a fundamentally kind of deranged and deformed person, someone who just doesn't seem, I think, to really understand very basic ideas like the rule of law, right? But many, many other people around him do. I mean, we know this because many of the people in his own who are his most fanatical supporters now, JD Vance, Ted Cruz, Michael Rubio, they said earlier on when they weren't so afraid of him, they said this man is a pathological liar. This man wants to be a dictator. They said these things very, we know that they believe these things. We know that they can see these things. These things are obvious, right? They're not subtle. I mean, I almost chuckle now at the idea that Donald Trump, that he was really concerned about anti-Semitism when he used anti-Semitism as the pretext to try to cripple the independence of American universities. Because we now see that Donald Trump doesn't need any pretext at all. I mean, when he says that we should shut down television networks just because they criticize him, or that the Justice Department should investigate people just because they're his political opponents. He doesn't even need any pretext, right? It's just the fact that they are limiting his power and he wants dictatorial powers. That's really all he needs. And when I see so virtually the entirety of the Republican Party going along with this, the Republican Party is always, for as long as I can remember, like to talk about appeasement, like to talk about cowardice. They'll always imagine themselves as the kind of the Churchills, the manly men, the people who could be counted on in the moment of peril to stand up to the forces of evil. You know, I mean, what what an utter irony that has turned to be, right? Because it turned out that there is no greater group of appeasers, no greater group of cowards than than the people in the modern Republican Party today, who, because they're afraid of Donald Trump, afraid that he could get them to lose their job, or afraid that he might go after them personally. Because after all, Donald Trump goes after Republicans too, right? He's going after John Bolton because John Bolton had the temerity to criticize him. These people who constantly talk about how tough they are and how manly they are, how they hate appeasement, and how they accuse their opponents of appeasement because they support diplomatic deals with Iran or other countries, now actually turn out to be willing to appease Donald Trump, even when he's systematically moving to destroy the equality under the law, which is the foundation of a free society, right? By basically just using the organs of the state in whatever ways he can to punish his political opponents, to prevent the possibility that people will be able to openly criticize him, and that the other party might be able to beat him in an election. And beyond that, I look at the organized American Jewish community. I mean, to go to the websites of the most powerful American Jewish organizations, AIPAC, the Anti-Defamation League, the Conference of Presidents of American Jewish Organizations, would you realize that American democracy is in peril? Would you realize that the Trump administration is trying to create an authoritarian state? No, you would see virtually nothing of that because these organizations care really only about one thing, about maintaining unconditional U.S. support for Israel. It's much more important to them that America maintains unconditional support for Israel than that America remains a liberal democracy. They would actually prefer an authoritarian America that supports Israel unconditionally than a liberal democratic America that changes its policy on Israel. And the evidence is right in front of you. Just look at what outrages them. Look at what they focus their political attention on. It's it's about maintaining unconditional support for Israel. It's not fighting for liberal democracy. It's not opposing Donald Trump's obviously, nakedly obvious efforts at creating an authoritarian, tyrannical state. I take some comfort in the notion that those leaders in our community, as well as those Republicans in Congress, as well as those business leaders and people in industry and some of these university presidents, that all of them will be judged. I think we're already in terrible, terrible times and probably heading for worse. And so I think there is a Jewish tradition in moments of great pain and trauma of taking refuge in the idea that we believe in a God who judges, and that there is some kind of cosmic justice, even if we can't understand it, even if we may not live to see it. And from the depths of my being, I hope that there is an accounting, that there is a reckoning, there is a judgment for the profound moral cowardice that is allowing the evil that is taking place both in the destruction of Palestinians, in the genocide in Gaza, and the destruction of the basic principles of liberal democracy in the United States. And I feel grateful that I have some modicum of faith, because it's that faith that gives me the belief that there will be a judgment, and also reminds me that I need to redouble my efforts. I need to be make a much more concerted effort to be part of the struggle against these forms of evil, both in Israel and Palestine that my government is complicit in, and the evils that my government is complicit in the United States. That all of us need to not give in to despair, to not look away, to look this in the eye and do whatever possibly we can to fight against this evil, which most Americans don't want. Most Americans don't want. And just say to ourselves, are we really a country that could allow the likes of Donald Trump to destroy all the things that are most precious in the country? Really? Are we that kind of people? I would think that we're better than that. And it's my hope that one day we will be worthy of having said that in this moment, conscious of the accounting and the reckoning that we believe will come, that we try to acquit ourselves better in the year to come.